Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
I'm Ted.
And today we have a viewer suggestion based off a video we did recently. We had did a world building, game master tips, sharing, sharing.
GryphonGaff,
basically, yeah, sharing the same campaign setting but very localized.
No.
So Boris Stremlin had asked a couple of questions, so we're going to break it down to multi-part videos. And this one we're going to discuss NPCs and using the same NPC characters.
Before we get into that, though, go down to the description below. Sign up for the Nerdarchy newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips delivered straight to your inbox, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Pardon me, guys, but yeah. So he has some really specific things like, how do we avoid using each other's NPCs? How do we, what about, having to share stats and magic items and secrets for that NPC?
Well, I think for the most part, we've handled things, pretty well. As we build the world, there's more NPCs that exist within GryphonGaff than either of us have explored. So there's always room for expansion. So if we're gonna, we're gonna encounter this or we're gonna encounter that, it doesn't really matter much. But in my game, the players really started, going to the place with the really good bread. So we gave it a name. So it was Evanwins Bakery, and it grew and it grew. And the fact that the players kept going back there, more of habit and player enjoyment, just because they kept doing it. Well, I said, okay, well, the place got a renown because that's where the heroes went.
The town, yeah.
That's where the heroes went. So therefore, now this guy's like, well, I need a bigger shop because I've got more demand that I can meet here, and I need to bring on more people, and that apparently attracted, some kind of negative situation, because in one of your more recent sessions, the place burned down.
Yes, and he was a victim of an arsonist.
Yeah, so we don't really know what happened there, but that's a minor NPC that only became of something because the players got involved.
Over many sessions throughout both games, that NPC started building up. And as far as sharing NPC stats and magic items and secrets and stuff like that, first of all, we don't stat NPCs unless we feel like they're going to fight the party.
Right. And even then, sometimes it's on a whim.
Yeah. Yeah, so chances are unless they're a villain, they're not, they don't really get stats. There might be certain characteristics that is we jot down as DMs, and which is no big deal to share. But yeah, as far as we don't actually stat them out, we don't make a character sheet for our NPCs.
I frequently do that. I'll make notations on human baker, Evanwins. It's pardon me. It's Evanwins Bakery. I don't know. Is his name Evanwind? Pardon me. Or
Ted's gonna die right on camera.
Or is there, I haven't even gotten that far because the players, while they've interacted with him to buy stuff, they haven't gone so far as to be well, let's engage and learn about this guy. So it's only gone so far.
That happened in my game.
Oh, okay. So these little bits and pieces, they build and they add layers to the NPCs. And I sit back and I say, okay, well, if I've got a plot or a thing that's going on, and I think Dave might have some inclination or desire to use said NPC, I'd be like, hey, do you have anything going on with such and such, or do you have any plans to use such and such? And I've done this a couple of times, and he's no, go ahead, it's yours. So we kind of go back and forth. Dave, he doesn't usually ask permission; he just does whatever he wants. Oh, I'm gonna, you're, the mayor that you made be a bad guy. Well, I'm gonna give him a illegitimate offspring. Nowhere did I have that in my backstory, but sure, I got no problem with it.
Now it's in there.
Yeah.
And as far as sharing NPCs, there's quite a few of them we've shared. We both use the mayor.
Both use the mayor. We both have used the new mayor. we have both used Evanwins. We have both used
Some of the council people.
Yeah, I was gonna say her, Brock or Han or whatever his name was, the half orc.
Brock, yeah.
You know, so
The head of the library.
oh yeah, which most of these are ones that I've created. But once they're there, they're an NPC, and unless unless you plan on saying, well, you know what, I'm going to add a major twist to this character, and make him be, not a bad guy or not a good guy.
Something more, yeah.
When you change the direction of their thought patterns, well, then it's then it becomes a stumbling block for the other player if they have any desire to use them. The head of the Elven Library, Adelasalar, I've clearly put him as a good guy, very knowledgeable, been around the block for a long time. Like, I would be thrown for a loop if Dave decided, you know what, I'm going to turn this guy into a villain.
Mastermind, yeah.
I'd be like, dude, it's totally not what I saw for this character, and that would have me upset. But at the same time, we're at liberty to make change, unless there's something that's specifically laid out.
Yeah, we definitely haven't storyboarded everything out, and
no, not at all.
A lot of times, I don't share just to kind of so there will be some discovery in the game, and I try and decide well, how will this really impact everything overall? In the instance of absconding with the mayor's lineage and having an illegitimate daughter, I'm like, well, you know what? It may not have been in your plans, but it doesn't actually interfere with anything because she was hidden away.
Correct.
And also kind of partitioned away from his life. Which she then blamed, the world at large for.
Right.
Not so much her father or her demon mother. So things like that. But if I was going to do something big, the head of the Elven Library is actually, he's actually a villain, then I should probably consult Ted with that and, let him know. And he's done it with me with different things in the past too. When Thallon Leafblade, the former mayor, actually turned out to be a villain.
Right.
And you're like, well, I got this thing going on and I don't know if I want to tell you about it. And then...
Well, it was one of those things that was a major, undecided stitch in my campaign early on. And I believe I've talked about this in videos that, excuse me, I was undecided what I wanted to do with him. I had two different stories that I had written as possibilities. Either he was everything that the legend said he was and that he came back a hero, or what wound up actually happening was that, his party was slain and he begged for his life and he wound up offering up the town and blood, over generations in lieu of his life. And it turns out that, he was a coward and, he reluctantly pledged his services to Narkitas for his life. And he'd had 60 years to really hate his decision and wish he would have just died that day. But what would that have meant for GryphonGaff? So... here we are 60 years later, you wind up, or the party winds up, finding out what happens and, you guys execute him. But early on in the game, something happened and one of the players was just like, he's evil, he's a bad guy. And I'm like, this totally just, changed my mindset. That it was like, if it was that easy to see this potential plot thread, then it's clearly not going to be the great fall I wanted it to be. So I was debating going away from that road, and you had instructed, I questioned you on it, and you're like, no, that's a really great, plot hook. One character saying something totally offhand, was literally just that. It was mere speculation.
What we learned
evidence.
is Aislinn always says things offhand like that.
But it made for a very compelling story. It made for something really cool. And it made for, grand sweeping changes, allowed a player character to become, an actual political official. So it made for some very great
Changed
story.
the political structure of the town. By now there's a council as well as the mayor.
Right.
Because they don't trust one person to be in power anymore.
So it wound up being a catalyst that really did require an out-of-game conversation to make actually happen. But most times we just, we do it ad hoc, and the other deals with the consequences.
Both good and bad, or we just or either that, or we'll just keep on doing what each other does.
No, I don't think that's that's in either wheelhouse.
No.
You just respond, and okay, well, you burn this guy's shop down. Well, that means he's got to go do this. Well, does that mean his business moves towards the more favorable neighborhood, or or what?
Or stays where it's at, or does he have to create, or does he have to take on a fiendish warlock pack in order to afford his new shop? Who knows? But in a nutshell, that's how we've addressed sharing NPCs so far. And we'll continue to do stuff, and we'll talk when we need to. And other times, I think we're just going to spring stuff on each other.
And it adds for more of the actual surprise and enjoyment in the game, because if we're both DMs and we're both players running out of the same world, so like when I run, he's a player, so like I don't want him to know all these little bits and pieces, and vice versa, so it's like, well, if it's not a huge major thing that's going to influence his DMing, I'm just not going to talk about it, and we'll let it come out in game.
Which works for me. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Or you can head over to Facebook and check out some funny memes.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.